What's up, everybody? I'm Christopher Thompson, and you're listening to the Mega Talks podcast. Welcome to episode 20 of the Mega Talks podcast. This episode, I'm going to be speaking with former Dardanelle Police Chief Montie Sims. Recently, I discovered he announced his candidacy for mayor of Dardanelle, which sparked my interest for sure, because I've worked under him for several years, and I wanted to get a chance to pick his brain about what his plans are if he becomes mayor of Dardanelle. Last week, I had contacted Jimmy Witt to get him on the podcast. Still hadn't heard back from him, hadn't got an answer whether he wants to or whether he doesn't want to do the show. But today, I'll be speaking with Montie Sims, which responded to me today. So we had a nice conversation, and I asked him some of the tougher questions that I've been seeing floating around on Facebook. Also, want to remind you guys to follow the Mega Talks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Catch the previous 19 episodes. Also, my clothing company, Ultimate Expression, Facebook, Instagram. I got a great store at Store Envy with some fresh gear. But without further ado, let's get into this interview with Montie Sims. All right, welcome to Mega Talks podcast. This is Christopher Thompson, and I'm honored here today with a special guest. His name is Montie Sims. Some of you may know him. I know him well. I used to work for him, and he's running for mayor of Dardanelle, Arkansas. And I know the residents of Dardanelle would like to hear his words. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open the floor with him and let him explain how he his transition from police chief to running for mayor. So how you doing today, Chief? Or Montie?
Yeah, please. It's Montie. Thank you. Chris, I'm doing well. Thank you. You?
I'm doing good.
Good. But you asked a question just a moment ago, my transition from being a chief of police to being a candidate for the mayor. As you know, I had the privilege and the honor of serving as the chief of police for the city of Dardanelle and the citizens of Dardanelle for 34 years. And that's just as chief. I've spent my whole public life, adult life, in public service in Dardanelle and Yale County for the past 45 years in law enforcement. So it was time for me to leave the law enforcement phase or stage, and I had been for some time looking at running for mayor. If the current mayor decided they were not going to run, after working for her for 20 years, I definitely was not going to come out and run against her if she had chose to go ahead and run for re-election. Mm-hmm. But
and that was Carolyn McGee, right?
Right, that was Mayor Carolyn McGee, and Mayor McGee has done a great job for the city of Dardanelle, so I was not going to oppose her in any way. It was just, and like I said, I had been wanting to do this for probably a year or longer, and had talked to several people about if the occasion ever came up of running for mayor, would there be support there? People indicated that there would be support, and since I have filed, there has been support. So
that's great.
So I'm looking for the transition over to still remain in public life or light, and to still serve the people and the citizens of not only the city of Dardanelle, but hopefully through the city of Dardanelle, we have an effect on the Dardanelle community in a whole based upon what we do.
That's for sure.
Dardanelle is in a unique position in the fact that not only are we the largest city in the county, but we're also the largest city that is located on Highway 7
Mm-hmm.
between Hot Springs and I-40 interstate. So there's a lot of traffic that goes through Dardanelle. The Arkansas Department of Transportation tells us that there's anywhere between 19 to 25,000 cars a day that goes through Dardanelle and over the Arkansas River Bridge into to Polk County into the I-40 corridor.
Yeah, very busy.
So with that being said, I made my decision that I wanted to run. I was late in announcing my decision for two reasons. One, the incoming mayor. I had to wait till she finally made her decision as to whether or not she was going to run. And I was still employed by the police department, and I did not feel comfortable taking leave from the police department as chief of police to run for mayor. So I had to wait till I retired, and I retired from the police department July 31st
Mm-hmm. That was this year, and
of this year. Yes.
yeah, and I would ask you the obvious question. A lot of people would probably ask this question, whether they ask it to you or anybody else, but coming from chief of police perspective and moving into the position of mayor, what qualifications do you bring from that office to the mayor's position?
Well, I think one of the qualifications that I bring is that I have 34 years of experience of working with city government. I've being the chief of police and working with the city government in these past 34 years. I've been connected to each one of the departments in the city, whether it be the fire department or it be the water, the street department. As chief of police, I've been connected to those agencies, so I know how those agencies run. I know how we all have to operate through our budgets and under budget restraints. I carry that experience into the office of mayor. In my 34 years that I've been chief of police or been here in Dardanelle, I've been involved in several civic organizations. I've been almost a chamber member of the Dardanelle Chamber of Commerce, probably as long as I've been chief of police.
Uh-huh.
I know the workings of the Chamber of Commerce. I know that the Chamber of Commerce works very hard to promote the city of Dardanelle, to promote businesses, to promote new jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been, and they play a very important role in our community.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I've been involved in that. I've had the pleasure of serving as president several times. I'm still, even though I've retired from the city government right now, I am still on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and so
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the ups and downs of that, and I know that I know that it can work for the benefit of the city
Yeah.
or the citizens. Not when I say city, I'm really saying the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean just the city government, but I mean the each and every one that lives inside the city limits of Dardanelle.
Yeah, because I've heard, got my ear out there, and I've seen comments where people talk about that they don't live inside the city, but they wish they had a say so because their kids are going to school there or they travel through
True.
there every day, and they what the city of Dardanelle does affects Yale County and some of the other surrounding areas.
It does. We really do. I'm sure we're probably no different than any other city in any other county in the state of Arkansas, but we do affect. Dardanelle School District, which again is the largest school district in the county. All of their schools are located inside the city limits of Dardanelle.
Mm-hmm.
There's no schools outside the city limits. So the school district is part of the city of Dardanelle, and the yes, not only the children from the city go to that school, but the outlining area, the communities
Yeah.
out in the county comes into our school,
Mm-hmm.
our schools, and we as a city, we have an obligation. We owe an obligation to those schools. We owe an obligation to those schools first and foremost. The kids going there are our most precious commodity, or our precious possession that we have. They're
Yeah.
our future, and we want to protect that future, and we want to foster that future, and we want to see that future, that those kids are getting the best education that they can get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the city can and should play a hand in that, as far as one, seeing that those children are safe, uh, so that, and their parents can rest assured that their children are going to come to a safe environment, a safe school. But also, secondly, there's other phases of working with the school that the city can be involved in. Right now, the some of the sports uh, organizations connected to the school are
Yeah.
using our city parks, our
Mm-hmm.
baseball field, and our baseball parks. So there needs to be a working relationship there with the schools and the city, and I've said, as I've told many people during this campaign, I'll work with the schools, I'll work with the churches, I'll work with any civic group, I'll work with any individual
Mm-hmm.
that walks into the mayor's office and has a project or an ideal to make Dardanelle better. I will work with them to reach that goal.
Oh, that's for sure, and that's something that I always said to people. When I was living in the city, they'd always mention different complaints about this and that, and I
Mm-hmm.
always told them, you need to be involved in what the city council or the mayor's office is doing. You need to, show your
That's
face
true.
down there and just see what a meeting, what's involved in the meeting, and
That's true.
how they can be a part of it.
That's true. That's true. And as you said, when you were here, well, and of course, your mother, who served as an altar woman
Mm-hmm.
for the city. I'm sure she has told you many times that when the city council meets, unless there's just somebody scheduled on the agenda, there may be one or two other people in there, other than the few department heads that showed up,
Yeah.
and that was it. So yeah, people need to come. They need to come to these city council meetings.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be informed. They need to know what's going on. They need to know what their city council is doing,
Yeah, and what voice they can,
and
provide.
and what voice they can provide and play in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I assure you, if you had a room full of people inside that city council, those city council members are going to be very attentive and very, wanting to hear what's on their minds.
Mm-hmm. And a minute ago, you were saying about the different departments within the city. You have, water, street, fire, police. You have those
Correct?
sewer. You have those divisions. And coming from the, being the police chief, you've made the budget for that department, and I'm sure you've
Right.
seen budgets for other departments, which
Right.
gives you, the prerequisite for balancing the budget and knowing what to look for. But is there
Right.
any area of the city that you feel in those departments that needs more attention that it's not getting at the current moment?
Well, of course, uh, I will have and will always have a special place for the police department in the city. But let's just take that department for instance.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest problems and as you know, when you work there, is retention of officers.
Oh yeah.
We were constantly losing and still constantly lose
Mm-hmm.
Good qualified officers. They stay there for 2 years, maybe 3 years, and they move on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a plan that if elected, I will work with the city council to reduce that retention by one plan by some incentives of having get the officers, if they move inside the city limits, giving them a what we call a take home car.
Oh yeah.
Now that as well as I do, that serves several purposes.
Mm-hmm.
That gives the officer a vehicle right there at his residence that he's going to drive. He's going to take special care of because it's his unit. Plus, he's going to be able to keep all of the equipment that he needs to do his job in that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know as well as I do, Chris, that if you're a resident of the city and across the street from you sits a police car, even though it's maybe sitting in the yard, but sits a police car, that's going to affect not only the traffic that drives up and down your street, but also the type of people that's going to be in that area.
Yeah.
Right. The criminal element. That's going to affect the criminal element being in your area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Another way is, as you again know, the retirement system that we have for our law enforcement officers here is what we call a self-contributory type system, where the officer actually pays 4% of his salary into the retirement system. Well, I want to change that. There is a state retirement system called LAFI, and I know you're familiar with it when you worked with the fire department.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to bring that state retirement system into the police department to where these officers, that 4.5% of their salary that they're paying in this retirement system, they don't have to pay. They can keep that in their salary.
Yeah,
so that's going to be
really extra incentive when you get in there and you look at your retirement.
Exactly. And the city, they also pay towards that retirement. We'll let that part that they pay go towards the LAFI retirement system of paying it. And I think that's going to be a win-win for both sides, for both the officer and that.
Yeah, because I know that was a big incentive being on fire department is just to have that in place. Watching, when I went on the fire department, there were guys talking about, the retirement system, and it was good. And, it boosts your morale because it kind of underlines the activity and the efforts and you're more than just an employer. You have a function in the community, and it's an important function. You appreciate it with your with your salary because it's stability for later.
Right, exactly. And it does allow, if you're not going to a city of our size obviously is not going to compete with some of the salaries of the larger cities.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. But this also sets up being under that system that if your officer does leave you and goes to a department that has a similar system, they can take that retirement with them. They don't lose that retirement. So
that's beneficial.
So I think that's a good thing. Other departments, there's some things that obviously and probably in our park and rec that we can look at. And Dardanelle's. It's a growing town. It doesn't seem like it is, and it may not be business wise, but home wise and everything. It's a growing town, and those other departments, the water, the sewage, things like this, that they have to be kept up and maintained too.
Yeah,
and well as I do that. The main functions of the city government is to provide police protection, fire protection, and then the water and the sewage that goes with that part of it, refuge, and then streets.
Yeah, And since we're on the, kind of on the subject, coming from police to the other departments and maintenance and things like that, there's the issue. Some people are have the talk, and this may sound crazy coming from me because we both done the same job, but people talk about the drugs in the community and like the broken window theory in the city of Dardanelle, where we have the businesses that move out, the burglaries, and some of the I don't know how to put that, but some of the people that aren't taking care of the community as well, that are giving refuge to the criminal element. Let's put it that way.
Sure. And of course, I would love to have been able to, in my 34 years as chief of police, to have been able to stand up and say, "Hey, there are no drugs in Dardanelle." Well, you and I both know that that would be a lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there always is going to be drugs in Dardanelle, or in any other community that you go in. It's there. I told a man the other day. A man asked me, he said, "Well, how do you stop drugs?" Well, you stop drugs mainly starts at home.
Yeah.
People, parents, grandparents, they have to take responsibility to tell their children or their kids as they're growing up, "Hey, drugs is not good for you."
And
Don't use them.
We've had a DARE officer. I don't know if he's still Larry, if he's still DARE officer in the schools. That's
Well,
a lot of generations that's come up underneath him that are
right.
The college now.
Right. Well, since you mentioned that, that is something else I am going to work on. For some reason or another, we did not have a DARE program this year. When I spoke to the DARE officer about this, he indicated, that that maybe the school act like that, the program wasn't beneficial anymore. One of my priorities is I'm going to work to get that DARE program established and other programs like DARE program back into the schools.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to reach those kids.
Yeah,
that's where you're going to make. Yeah, that's where you're going to make the difference. That's where you're going to make the difference between a kid going straight and a kid going the wrong way.
Yeah,
it's through that relationship that you build. So I don't know what the problem was there, but I can assure you that if I get elected and become mayor, I'm going to be checking into that problem and get that program back into the schools.
And I think some of the relationship there between when the DARE program was implemented, we were living in a totally different time. Now we're living in a time where, Arkansas's, medical marijuana, and now we have another thing that used to be illegal becoming legal. So you have kids coming up with the impression that this is okay. Yeah. But they don't relate that to their actual behavior.
And I'm going to make this statement because this is what I totally believe. I totally believe we have made a terrible mistake in passing the medical marijuana issue, and I think as time goes on, that will bear out to show it as being truthful about that. Here you are wanting to fight drugs, try to keep drugs off the street, and you turn around and pass a law that's really going to allow the manufacture of it.
Yeah.
And then the sale of it. And I think that if there was that big of a need for it, that first of all, the federal government should have stepped in and should, even today, step in and say, "Hey, ho, no, this is not going to work. Let's
take another look at that."
Yeah, let's do some studies on this. If there is some type of a drug in there that can be useful to these people for that problem, then okay, let's develop it. Let's make it into some type of prescription to where it can be monitored. And then
Just the same as the rest of them are doing.
right, same as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I think this. I, and again, this is my own personal belief, and maybe I shouldn't put personal beliefs in this, but I'm a Christian, and I believe in speaking up where I think there's wrong.
Uh-huh.
I think we made a wrong in this, and I just hope that it doesn't open up to where the next thing we see coming along is actually the commercial use of it or the open use of it. Because
and I think some of that, the states like Colorado, California, Nevada are going to be like guinea pigs for what they do later, because a lot of people are under the impression that a lot of crime goes away because it's illegal, but they don't understand what's going on in these other states that even though it's legal, there's still crime centered around, just because it's in the street like that. And hearing what some of my other friends in law enforcement experience in other states, there's other criminal things that take place of just your average possession charge.
Mm-hmm. True. But and going back to the question that you mentioned earlier about the drug issue here in Dardanelle, there's probably no other person in this town as much as I hate meth.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
I've seen what meth does to families. It destroys families. It destroys people.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it. But with that being said, the men and women of the Dardanelle Police Department have been making arrests involving this drug, both misdemeanor status and felony status.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, have we had some of the big drug busts? No, we have not. Mainly because when we work a case and we get someone, we turn that person or that case over to the drug task force, and let them go from there. But if you look at our arrest record for 2017, 2018, mm-hmm. you'll see that the police department has made arrests, has taken drugs off the street.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things coming from city law enforcement. We're in a certain district, counties countywide. And then you have state, you have different levels. If we chase, I say we are used to. You catch somebody and you try and chase a case, it may take you into places like Little Rock or Pine Bluff. I'm naming cities at random, but it's just not going to stay locally. And as a city officer, or if you set something up within the city, you may not have the capability or the funding to just jump up and head out to a different city and start working with people without giving up your resources locally in your community.
Right. And with that being said, I congratulate Sheriff Bill Gilkey, the Sheriff of Yale County, in going to the Quorum Court, and I respect the Quorum Court for funding a position for him to have an officer that can spend full time doing this. Mm-hmm. And this is some of the results that we've seen in the last couple of days here. This is some of the results that we've seen from that. So my hat goes off to Sheriff Gilkey and the Yale County Sheriff's Department for doing that. I would who would not? What chief of police or law enforcement officer, whether it be city or county in the state of Arkansas, would not like to have enough funds appropriated to them where they could have an officer hired to just do that full time.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And someday that could happen. That could happen in Dardanelle.
Yeah, especially when you get to know more officers there, consistent and motivation. That's gives them the incentive to do it.
Right.
Let's take a look.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at the I call it the broken window theory. You kind of know what that is. I saw your Facebook post about the Harps. Is another empty building. We've had some of those empty buildings down on Front Street. bringing business in to build the community and establish that foundation that was
True.
once there. But
True.
how do we latch
True.
on and bring that up?
Well, and I think, and when I say this, uh, whether it be myself or one of the other candidates that's running, I think one of the main functions of the mayor is to be an ambassador for the city of Dardanelle, and to go and look for these businesses to come to our city, to show them our city. Part of that, that you're going to look at as far as some of these businesses is our city itself. We need to start some beautification programs
Mm-hmm.
to make our city more attractive. There's one of the things that I intend on working on and looking at. There are some streets here in Dardanelle that have sidewalks.
Yeah.
Well, you can't see those sidewalks because they're covered up with either grass or dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my priorities that I'm going to work on is getting those sidewalks uncovered, whether it be done through the city itself or the city working with some civic groups or organizations as a community effort to clean up our town,
Mm-hmm.
make it more attractive. By making it more attractive and cleaning up our town, you're gonna have people that are going to drive through here and look at Dardanelle and say, I I, I may want to stop in this town and open up a business.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then the next function of the mayor is going to be, well, hey, I'm glad you're here. I think you'll let me tell you why you should open up a business here in Dardanelle.
Mm-hmm.
And and you tell us what you're looking for, and we'll see if we can help you find that.
Yeah.
That building, that size. Now, I just posted on my Facebook page. I was at a meeting yesterday.
Okay.
And it was announced that the Harps building has been bought by a private investment firm, a private investor. But as to what's going to go in, yet we have no idea. But at least the building has been bought, so that means that eventually there is going to be something that goes in there. So
yeah,
so that's a plus.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction.
That's a step in the right direction.
Because a big conglomerate building like that is not an easy purchase for someone.
That's true. That's true. But Chris, again, working with the different city officers that I've worked with, I've known in the past that there has been investment people come to our town and looking for a building the size of Harps to move into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's something else that we may be able to help them at. Is when a building becomes vacant like that. One of the first things we ought to do is that the state of Arkansas has what they call an Arkansas Economic Development Commission.
Okay.
Contact those people and say, hey, we have a building site here that is sitting empty.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to come and look at it, and then more or less put it on the market for us for some business that's traveling through the state of Arkansas or traveling through this area, and they're looking for a building that size or shape or whatever. Well, hey, we have one here in Dardanelle, Arkansas. Let's go look at it.
That's interesting.
And it doesn't cost us a penny. It doesn't. That they're set up to do that.
It's like free advertisement.
And basically, exactly. And they'll help you advertise that building.
Mm-hmm.
So and I know it's important that being here for the number of years that I've been here in public service, I know it's important that people all the time say, well, how can we build old downtown?
Yeah.
What can we do with those vacant buildings? Well, we can first of all, what we can do with those vacant buildings is try to encourage the owners of those buildings to do a facelift on that building.
Mm-hmm.
Make it presentable.
Make it attractive.
Make it attractive. Uh, you know, um, if it needs paint and mortar, some paint and mortar, do the paint and mortar. Make the building attractive to where somebody drives through looking for a business, wanting to open up a business, and uh, it doesn't have to be a big business to open up down there. It could be a 2-person business, or it could be a 10-person business.
Mm-hmm. Just so long as it's a
So
thriving
long as
business.
right, as long as it's a business that adds attraction to our town and draws people into our town and can serve as a service for our town. You mentioned earlier, well, while we're still on the business, and there's grants out there that we can apply for, that we can help a business owner apply for
Mm-hmm.
to help promote their business. We should be going in conjunction with Arkansas Tech has a organization over at the Arkansas Small Business Enterprises. Well, we need to be working with those people to help establish businesses. We need to be working with the colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas Tech, UCA, the college campus at Morton.
Mm-hmm.
Work with them to come in and look at our town, look at our businesses, and say, hey, this is what you need here.
Mm-hmm. That would be beneficial
And,
to have something education right there in town.
right, exactly. So there's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's grants out there that we can apply for. Uh, you know, uh, this past summer, unfortunately, I think it was kind of ill-fated, but this past summer there was talk of having a splash pool set up.
Pool?
Uh,
Did you say pool?
a splash pool,
Oh, okay.
not a swimming pool, a splash pool or splash park, I
Yeah,
guess
kind of
is
like
what
a
they call it.
sprinkler type of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, like that. And there is money out there for that. There's grants out there for that would get that project built.
Mm-hmm.
And I would one be in favor of applying for a grant like that,
Yeah.
because if that's what the people wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I would also want to use caution, because to build it is one thing, to maintain
Maintain
it
it.
after you build it is another.
Yeah. Plus, you're
And
gonna have a creation of jobs there.
well,
The
you are
funding.
going to have some creations of jobs till it gets built.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but now the type of system they were talking about is a non-manned system,
Hmm.
and I don't know all of the functions of it as to how it was supposed to work, other
Mm-hmm.
than you were not going to have an attender or an operator there running it. It was, and I know the city of Conway did a very similar thing in one of their parks
Mm-hmm.
this past summer. So it can be done.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
interesting.
but the big thing that you have to watch out, as I said, for these grants, to apply for was one thing, and to get it is another.
Yeah.
But then the third aspect of it that you have to look at is the maintenance, and how are you going to pay for it after it's built and the grant's over with.
Yeah, because you don't want to build it and have it be a strain to the community or be, just
Right.
empty because it can't
So
sustain.
you have to be careful with that. And I know that there's been talk, and I'm been part of that talk in the past, that we would love to have a outdoor amphitheater at Veterans Park
Yeah, that would be nice.
on the river. That would be very nice. And I know that our mayor in the past has applied for it. She kept getting turned down, so she quit applying for it. But I think we need to go back and apply for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, make sure that when we apply for it, that we have things covered enough to where if we do get it and it's built, can we keep it maintained?
And that's in which park now?
Veterans Park.
Oh, okay.
The park on the river.
Yeah.
Behind City Hall there at the river, which would be an ideal place because whatever you did there as far as a concert or anything else, you got the backdrop of the Arkansas River behind you. You couldn't ask for a better scenic backdrop than that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think a lot of people, have questions about, and can it be done? Will it be done, or is it just talk? But it sounds like you've done some research into actually, making some of those things happen.
Right.
And, that's a step in the right direction because, like I tell people,
Right.
You want something to happen, you got to start stepping in that direction. You just can't talk about it.
Right. Well, I'll put you this way. I feel like it can be done, and I feel like that eventually it will be done. But, it's not going to be an overnight type thing.
No.
And there's going to have to be a lot of research put into it as to what type of amphitheater you want down there. And again, once it's built, how are you going to keep it maintained?
Okay. I'm going to ask you maybe a couple of difficult questions here. You tell me.
Okay.
There's a citizen out there, and I'm not talking about anybody in specific, but
right.
We know from our jobs, there's always somebody that's your toughest critic, and you got to win that toughest critic over. What do you say to them, and how do you speak to them to persuade them that you're the right guy for the job?
Well, the only thing I can say to them is that look at my background, look at my record. I'm proud of that record. I feel like that is the years that I worked for the city and was a departmental head, that there were a number of advances made there in the department to bring the police force up to the type of police force that the citizens need. So I would tell them to look at my background on that. Look at the fact that it plays a lot to deal with it. A lot of people don't want to discuss it, but it plays a lot to deal with it. I am a Christian. I believe in God. And I'm an active member in the church, in the community. I will let that play an important role in any decision that I make concerning the city government. And that all I can say to them is give me a chance. Give me a chance. And if you put me in there and you don't like what I'm doing, all you got to do is tell me.
Yeah,
you don't like it. And
show
I
up
assure
and
you,
work together. Still,
right? I assure you, I will be one of these mayors that when you walk into the office of the mayor and you have a complaint, we'll look at it. We'll look at that complaint. But I'll also be the type of a mayor that if you walk into the office and you have a plan or a program or a suggestion to make things better for Dardanelle and to make things better not only for the citizens of Dardanelle but the outlying community, the first word you're going to hear out of me is, how can we help you succeed at that?
Sounds good. And next tough question we'll get,
okay,
and then we'll kind of move it on. What do you say to the person that's anti, not totally anti, doesn't have to be, but anti law enforcement? They're like, I didn't like him as a chief. Why does he think he needs to be mayor? Why is he moving in this direction? And I'm totally against it because it's just going to be the same show, just a different office.
Right. And the only thing I can say to that is that through my 34 years as being the chief of police, you know, uh, I come in contact with people as well knew working there. You
Mm-hmm.
come in contact with people every day.
Yeah.
Every day there's a new situation,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you're going to have to make a decision. And some of those decisions that you make, somebody's going to be happy with it. Somebody's not going to be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you make the decision based upon one, what is the law, and two, what is the best way to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And and if it does turn out to where that decision was made, let's say was against you, and you were happy with it, well, uh, you know, uh, um, what can I say? Uh, there's decisions that are made after every day that somebody's not going to be happy with, and if you were unhappy with the decision I made, all I can say to them is that, hey, I I made the right decision, what I thought was the right decision at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
I stand behind it. And if it's not agreeable to you, or you think we did not do enough, or I did not do enough, then that's fine. You have the right to have that opinion.
Yeah.
I have the right to have the opinion that I felt like I handled it the best that I could handle it.
Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about uh, somebody's personal opinion. That's kind of
Right.
different. If you have 50 people show up to a city council meeting and say, "Hey, this is bad for our community. Let's vote it down." You're not saying that you're going to fight against the public just because it's your personal opinion.
No, 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 no. Part of my part of the function as being a mayor is to and then you know make the best decision. If honestly, so
Oh, you cut out on the last part. So this part of the interview, we had some technical problems, kind of got disconnected, but I was able to reestablish a connection and pick up the interview. So give me about 4 seconds and we'll reconnect.
Chris,
Yeah, I think you're cutting out
okay,
wherever you're at
okay,
because I didn't get the
that
last couple of
is this
sentences.
okay? Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. As I was saying, you want to, as mayor, you want to obviously be in the majority of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there could come a time, however, though, that you being in the majority is not the right thing. Is not the best thing for the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so that comes to a situation where you may have to make a choice that is unpopular, but overall could be the right thing for the city.
Yeah.
That's and that's one of the luxuries as I guess as mayor during the city council meeting, is the fact that you don't ever vote on anything unless there becomes a tie
Yeah.
in the vote. Then you're gonna have to make that decision and break that tie, which
Mm-hmm.
could be a popular thing to do, could be an unpopular thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna kind of wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Asking you some questions. I appreciate you giving me the time. We spent a little bit um time on each subject here. Hopefully we touched on some things, and if you need to do it again, just contact me back. But
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
get this out here for everybody to listen to, and thank you once again.
Well, Chris, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer some questions and let people know where I stand on some issues. Again, as I say to everyone, you know, all I can do is ask you to consider me and vote for me on election day, and I will try to do for you the best job that I can do, and to give me a chance.
Cool. That sounds great. All right.
Okay.
We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Montie Sims, for being a guest on the show. And one of the coolest things about having a podcast is the interesting, cool people that I follow. I get to invite them onto the show and give them a voice to talk to you guys, so you guys can get a peek into the things that they do and how they make a difference in not only their life but other people's lives. The Mega Talks podcast runs 19 episodes deep, and I can guarantee that you're going to find one or more of my guests that you find interesting and want to follow, because I interview people from several different types of lifestyles. I speak with some musicians, some comedians, some athletes, coaches, police officers, college professors, entrepreneurs, and that list is going to continue to build. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends the Mega Talks podcast. And that's a wrap for today.